And thank you for listening to the Basket Cases podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Henderson, and this is episode 19. And with me today is a new co-host. The show has taken a turn. Aaron Tamayo. You might recognize him from episode 13, I believe it was. Aaron, say what's up to the people.
What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody?
Welcome, Aaron. Thanks for coming, man. Stoked to have you here.
Thank you, Kev.
Should be a start of something cool, man.
Let's do it.
I want to thank personally Zach Bozeman for his contributions to the show. He was a tremendous help, tremendous entertainer, and did a great job on the show. Wish him well in his musical and various other endeavors. So shout out to ZB, Beats Bozeman. So Aaron's the new co-host for now, and we're going to see how the show goes from here on out. We don't have a schedule just yet. We have a lot of things to work out. We're going to do as many episodes as we can and just take it from there until it's into a routine. But we wanted to get back on the mics so you guys could all, get back and familiar with the show. And we apologize again for the absence, but we're back and we're here. So let's get to it. As always, we like to start off the show with our social media shout outs. So we're on Instagram at basket_cases_LA. Aaron is also on Instagram. Aaron, what's your Instagram account, man?
You guys can follow me on Instagram at _barber_Aaron.
There you go. He's a barber. That's why, he can sit in his chair. You can hit him up on Instagram. Be like, yo, I need a cut, man. Let's talk about some sports, man. So, hit us up on Instagram. You can listen to the show on iTunes, Stitcher. You can like our Facebook page. You can follow me on Twitter at BasketCasesLA. Or if you have anything you want to really say and you want to, it doesn't fit in 140 characters, you can email the show at basketcasesla@basketcasespodcast.com. You could also listen on YouTube for free. I don't know if anybody's really doing that, but that's an easy way for some people. If you don't have the right app on your phone, or you don't want to subscribe, or you have an issue downloading or whatever, just go on YouTube. Tell your friends, listen on YouTube. It's right there. I upload every episode to YouTube, so check that out too. We have a huge show today. So much has gone on in the last few weeks, so we're going to kind of touch base on some older topics, talk about some current stuff. Today, the men's national college basketball championship happened, so we'll get into that incredible game between North Carolina and Villanova. I have a game for Aaron to play later in the show. What is it?
No, are you ready to play?
No, not yet. We'll do it later. So we'll play a game about college basketball championships, as we just had one. So it's timely and topical. We got the whole D'Angelo Russell, Nick Young, Iggy Azalea controversy that we're just going to chop up and probably have to talk about next week and the week after that and the week after that and until the end of time. That story is so juicy.
Yeah, I'm so mad about it.
Aaron is like boiling over here, man. I could see the anger in his eyes. Kobe played his last game against the hated ones, the green, ugly Boston Celtics, over the weekend. He dropped 34 points, so we'll talk about the Lakers and the Celtics. The Warriors, breaking news, the Warriors lost at home, finally, to those hated Celtics over the weekend as well. So we'll talk about the Warriors, and we'll also do a little bit of a NBA breakdown as we're nearing the playoffs. The Dodgers, shout out to the Dodgers, opening up their season today against the Padres. We'll talk about that game and what's going on in La La Land with the Blue. We're going to cover a little bit of NFL topic. There's a few NFL topics I want to get into. Basically, for the last couple of weeks, I've been taking notes on some interesting stories. We're going to get into a CTE story. We're going to talk about a couple quarterbacks that may have moved, may be moving, and see where that goes. We also got a story that if we get to it, we'll just see how the show goes. But I'm going to tease it, and so you're just going to have to wait and see if we talk about it. But an interesting story in baseball about we probably will get to it, about a player ending his career because of his kid. But we'll explain that later. And we got a quick MMA story to touch on as well. So let's get right to it. What do you say?
Let's do it.
All right. Villanova, North Carolina. What an incredible matchup. So an incredible game. Villanova ended up edging North Carolina 77-74, but that was just, the score is nothing compared to what the excitement of the game was. Number 2 seed Villanova, number 1 seed North Carolina. There was so much talk about North Carolina's size, and particularly in the first half, it really didn't seem to make much of a difference. It was really about North Carolina's guard play. Joel L. Berry had 15 points in the first half, and he kind of took over. There was a big I was talking to Aaron about this earlier. There was a big play at the end of the first half where North Carolina could have extended the lead to like 9, I think it was, missed a gimme, and gave up a transition bucket at the buzzer at the end of the first half to make it only a 5-point game. And I think that one play was such a significant play in this game because Villanova came out in the second half and they were a different team, and I think that play really kind of led to their confidence and getting their swagger back.
Kind of dragged that momentum into the second half.
Exactly, which is, momentum is a funny thing, man. You never know which jersey it's going to be wearing, and it has no affiliation to anybody, no ties to anybody, but it is a real thing though.
Yep.
And so anyway, it was 39-34 North Carolina at the half, and North Carolina had no transition buckets, which was a kind of like a bad omen for them in the second half because although they had the lead, they weren't playing their style that they like to get up and down. And basically, I thought of this. I remember when Shaq and Derek Fisher had the .4 shot back in the day against the Spurs, and Shaq came out and he said one lucky shot deserves another because the Spurs had just hit a big shot, and then Derek Fisher won it with the .4.
What was it? Tim Duncan.
It was Tim Duncan. You're right. Yeah. It was like falling down, hit that free throw. Yeah, okay. That free throw, like 15-foot jumper or something like that.
Like that.
So it was a long time ago. If I don't have the exact shot, forgive me, but I do remember it. Nonetheless, what's the guy's name? Page for North Carolina. Marcus Page hit one of the most difficult shots I think I've ever seen hit in a game. So second half, Villanova comes out and they just turn the game around. It takes them 7-8 minutes, and they finally get the game tied up again after like that 7-point deficit. And then they take the lead, and then they were up 9 or 10. You felt like they were going to take it. North Carolina comes all the way back, right. And then it was a dog fight at the end of the game.
Those kids have heart, man.
They do.
Marcus Page,
he's the senior on North Carolina. He's the coach's favorite. He comes up down 3 with 9 seconds to go, 10 seconds to go. He pulls up for 3. And he's got a long defender right in his face.
Their center.
Their center. He has to double clutch it, so he brings his knees up to his chin, and then he shoots this heave over the defender and buries it with 4.7 or something like that. 4.1, less than 5 seconds to go. Yeah. One of the most clutch and difficult to hit shots I have ever seen. And he hits that shot, and you're thinking, okay, what's Villanova going to do? They call their timeout, and they don't take the ball at half court, which I don't even know if you can in college because we're going to get into my college rant later. But nonetheless, I don't know all the college rules versus the pro rules, but they nonetheless elected or had no choice but to take the ball out full court with only less than 5 seconds to go. They called their timeout, drew up their play, and that one lucky shot deserved another because Chris Jenkins for Villanova came down. His guard got him the ball, screened off the defender, and with no time left on the clock at the right wing, just buried the game winner at the buzzer from 3. And it was one of the most remarkable ways to just drop the mic. It was one of the sweetest.
Awesome play, too.
Unreal. Great. I said it as we watched it. Yeah. I was like, man, what a great play call. They get that guy because nobody was thinking the big man's going to be jacking up the 3 for the win with everything on the line. And he just got, the guard. What was the guy's name? From Italy, the Villa Nova, whatever his name was.
Yeah, the Italian kid.
Yeah, the Italian kid. He said he got that good pass and the good screen and just gave him a wide open look, and he drilled it. Yeah. After the game, he said, man, if I get my 2 steps up, it's going, I'm shooting it. Yeah. So just one of the more remarkable college basketball games, professional. I mean, just games in general, not even college. Just one of the best games ever, especially it was really all you could ask for in a championship game. There was 8 or 9 ties, 8 or 9 lead changes, and that was with 10 minutes to go in the second half or something like that, or 8 minutes to go in the second half. They put that stat up, and I was like, wow, this game was just.
No, it was back and forth.
It was. In the second half, there was such a great intensity level. They were going at it. It was a great game. So if you missed it, you missed out. The Final Four was not so good. Obviously, that was last. Couple of days in North Carolina, beat number 10 Syracuse, who probably shouldn't have been there, but they made it all the way. And North Carolina's size was just too much, and that's the reason why I was thinking they were going to be trouble for Villanova with their size. But Villanova was not bothered. Their guards were finishing over the top. They were hitting shots. They shot what was it, 68% from the field? It was something just absurd, especially with everything on the line to shoot that well. Those kids were locked in on Villanova. And then, Villanova blew out Oklahoma. Buddy Hield, who was the star of the tournament. He was like this year's Steph Curry from back in the day, just knocking down threes and, lighting the world on fire. But he didn't have his best game against Villanova. And they kind of I feel like Oklahoma kind of gave up in that game. It was just, they got blown out.
But 44 or something like that?
It was
something
bad.
Like crazy.
It was,
Buddy Hield had like 9 points.
Yeah.
Kind of deflated a little bit.
You could just read it on their faces. They were not
defeat.
feeling it. Yeah. Which is a terrible way to go out. It makes me think of like when Dwight Howard left the Lakers and he get fouled out of that playoff game and got ejected or whatever it was too. And I was just like, man, that's such a lame. Yeah. I hate that.
Yeah.
You don't quit. But the Final Four being such a poor product, when were those games? Just a couple of days ago over the weekend. I watched those games, I think on Saturday, and today's Monday as we're recording this episode. And I immediately, switched after watching those college games over to what I'm all about, the NBA games. And I watched the Warriors and the Blazers play or whatever the next day. And I was just like 5 minutes into the game, I was like, man, I just love NBA basketball so much more. The quality of play is so much better. And as great of a game as that was, you don't get that very often in college basketball. You don't get that shot making and that field goal percentage and that athleticism. Like, there's a reason why those were the two teams left standing, because they were head and shoulders playing better basketball and just better athletes and the better teams than the rest of the whole, tournament had to offer. And so I just wanted to go on like a little rant, since this is like a NBA centric show. And Aaron is already looking at me like, okay, Kev, what ridiculousness are you about to say? But this is the reason why I don't like college basketball. I feel like the NCAA is in cahoots with the NBA because it's like a free minor league system for the NBA. It's like they don't have to worry. Like in baseball, you got your farm system, and those guys, they're not getting paid as much as the guys in, like for instance, AAA is not going to make as much as AA, or vice versa. AA is not going to make as much as AAA. Single A is not going to make as much as AA. AAA doesn't make as much as the pros, yada, yada. But college is just like, hey, we're just going to get these big personality coaches. They're going to recruit all these kids with their big personalities and say, hey, come play for the name on the front of your jersey because I coached so-and-so for 1 year, however long ago, or whatever the case may be. And I just feel like the system is so corrupt. The NCAA has just all these arbitrary rules that don't really make any sort of sense, and nobody really seems to understand them. But we just go for it because of the acronym NCAA. Oh, they're big time. And to me, it's just a joke. There's less, and they're totally in cahoots. There's no NBA games at all today because of the college championship. That's not by accident. It's out of respect for the college game. No, it's because you guys are working together. You're trying to sell this system where these coaches make tens of millions of dollars. Aaron asked me earlier if I thought college players should get paid. And I don't even have I think that the problems are so much bigger than the financials that I don't really know if that would solve or improve anything. I mean, I understand that football and basketball, they're revenue earning sports, but they pay for everything, all the other academic sport, all the academic programs at those universities. So it's such a conflated issue that nobody seems to have like the answer to fix it. But I just don't like the whole one and done thing. I don't think that the NBA needs to have a rule that you have to be a certain age or what. I mean, it's basketball, man. It's not your brain as much as it is your body. And if you can play, you can play. And if you can't play, you can't play. And I really wish that the NBA, I think the solution is forget the schools, man. The NBA developmental league needs to get up to speed like, the way hockey minor league systems are and baseball minor league systems are.
Yeah.
That's just my personal opinion. And the NFL is a whole different story because they got the same thing going on in college football, and then they don't even have guaranteed contracts. In NFL, which is just absurd. The sport where you get hurt the most is the sport where the owners have somehow rigged it that they don't have to pay their players when they get injured. It's unbelievable. And why would anybody sign up for the NFL unless they're just they just had no other way to get out of whatever their situation was to make some money. So anyway, that's just kind of my rant. I'm not a huge college sports fan in general. I like that a lot of people say, oh, they're not getting paid and they just do it because they want to win. And it's just like, man, not necessarily. They're getting paid under the table. They're getting lunch money. They're getting whatever it is. There's always something else at play. And they're just not as good at athletes. They're not as good as shot makers. They're not as entertaining. They don't jump as high. They're not as tall. They're not as fast. Half the time they're missing a million shots a game, and it just drives you absolutely nuts. The pace of the game is so much slower. You turn on that Warriors-Blazers game, and you're like, he's 15-footer. He's going to make it because he's an NBA, because he's a pro. Like, there's just the nature of the game, I feel, is so much higher at the NBA level. And from an entertainment value, I enjoy it more. Now, obviously, tonight was an outlier, and we saw one of the best games you could possibly ask for at the college level, and it was great. And so everybody's going to think, oh, Kevin, you're crazy. You're saying this on the night where the best basketball game ever happened. You know what you're talking about. But did you watch games 2 months ago in January and February? Were you watching those games?
I wasn't. No.
Me neither. You know why? Because they're boring. They are.
They should, like you said, maybe what if they do like a minimum 2 year before they go to the NBA, you know? Because people want to see these guys.
That's the thing. You don't have any, like, okay, why do people, in my opinion, television nowadays is better than movies? Why? Because the production value and the episode-to-episode character development. You grow attached to Walter White in Breaking Bad. You grow attached to Frank Underwood in House of Cards. You want to watch these guys develop. You want to see what happens. Athletes are the same way. Why do we love Kobe? Because we've watched him grow up for 20 years. You have that connection. In college basketball, a kid plays for a year. If he's like, look at Ben Simmons. He didn't even go to class. It's like it's a sham. It's fake. It's not real. Like he's playing in college because he has to for 1 year, and he's not. His heart isn't even in it. So the whole argument, oh, they're not getting paid, so that's why they're there. It doesn't hold water. That argument doesn't work because did you watch those like LSU and stuff? Ben Simmons was dogging some of it at the end of the time. Like he's supposed to be the next LeBron James. Why didn't LSU make the tournament even? Because he didn't want to. He didn't want to be there. He thought it was ridiculous that he had to play college ball. He wanted to be a pro. So I don't think that there's any. I don't know if 2 years solves the problem. I don't know if an age limit solves the problem because there's always going to be an exception to the rule. What would Kobe have done if he was forced to go play college? What would Kevin Garnett have done if they were forced to go play college? It would have been unfair. They would have dominated so greatly in college. I know Kobe doesn't have the best numbers from his rookie year, but he didn't get to play at the pro level. He could have scored, and if he was playing for Duke, he would have been averaging 45 points a game. It was ridiculous how the skill level. And I know he's an outlier, but outliers exist, and that's why you can't have these steadfast rules to put a blanket over every player that ever comes up and has a chance to be great. You know, I feel like just the whole system is just bad. It's just my opinion.
I think what I don't like from college basketball is, since I don't watch too much of it, I just watch the tournament itself.
Yeah.
So I don't like when these players in college dominate, and then when it translates to the NBA.
Yeah.
They're not at the level of the NBA.
Yeah, because they're not playing against good competition. It's like that's kind of my point. It's just the quality is so much lower at that level, and maybe the quality would be greater if players were forced to come back for their sophomore and junior and senior years, because then instead of 18 years old and done, they're 19 and they're 20 years old and they're learning how to play and they're filling into their bodies and their head is meeting their bodies as far as cohesiveness on the court, and they're starting to get awareness and play better ball. But like I said, I don't know. I don't want to just get on the microphone and say this is what they need to do, because I'd really have to sit down for days, hours, weeks, months, years. Like I'd have to figure it out, and I haven't yet. But I think there is something to the minor league idea, because you don't see players coming up to the bigs in baseball having any trouble, because half of them are 23, 24, 25 years old by the time they finally get there, because they had to go dog it in the minors for a while. And people like going to minor league baseball games because they're fun, So it's a big issue. We don't talk a lot of college sports on the show, so this was an opportunity to cover a great game and give you just kind of my take, basically. You know what I mean?
Nonetheless, one of the best.
Nonetheless, I will agree with you. I'll tip my cap on this very day, but it doesn't mean that I'm happy and going to watch as soon as the basketball season starts next year. I'm still going to be watching the NBA. And one final point with the whole college thing that still drives me nuts is, like, if you really think about it, we were just talking about how the revenue is a big reason why there's always the conversation about should the players get paid. Think about like tennis. Think about golf. There's no rule in professional tennis at like an age limit, or golf an age limit. It's just, hey, if you can play, come play. But why don't they have that in the NBA? If you can just come play, then come play. Because like I was saying, they're in cahoots with the schools. Those schools need that revenue from those players. So they force them to come to those schools and play for a year so they can have a good product on the floor. And that's another thing that kind of bugs me. If you're some 16-year-old prodigy and you're just amazing at tennis, you can go pro and just go ahead. Because you know why? Tennis doesn't earn those schools any money, so they don't care.
I think it works like that in Europe with soccer players too, right? Because you see a lot of professionals at 15, 16.
Exactly. It totally does. It's the same thing. The schools are in cahoots with the NBA.
So it has to be a money thing, man, because it generates a lot of money.
Money ain't a thing.
It's always about the money. What did Chris Tucker say in Rush Hour 2? Follow the rich white man. Like it's like whenever you're trying to figure out the problem, just follow the money. That's what it.
Money ain't a thing.
That's what it always is. Anyway, let's move on to this fantastic, salacious story that we will most certainly get interrupted during for halftime as we dive into it, which will be a bummer. But that's the way the show goes. Halftime always comes, and then it always goes. D'Angelo Russell was the subject of some controversy.
I'm only 19, but my mind is on.
He's only 19, now he's 20. But I don't know if his mind was necessarily older in this particular case, Mobb Deep. Man, so I got my hair cut from Aaron the other day, and we almost started getting into a fight in the chair. And so I said, yo, save it for the show, man. So, okay, if you're not familiar with what happened, this is the new story, and it's been all over social media. It's been all over ESPN. It's been all over Fox. It's been everywhere. It's been all over the NBA coverage, anywhere you look for it. D'Angelo Russell, the Lakers' number 2 draft pick, he's close, but his 2 closest friends on the Lakers are probably Jordan Clarkson and Nick Young. Obviously, Clarkson is closer to his age, and Nick Young is probably mentally closer to his age as far as that goes. And Nick Young is engaged to whatever you want to call her, pop, hip-hop star. I don't listen to her. Iggy Azalea. White girl with a black girl booty, basically, right?
Yeah.
That's all I really know about her. But
and she's Australian, too.
Oh, okay, and she's Australian. Right on. Good day, mate. So Nick Young was sitting on his bed in a hotel room with his homie D'Angelo Russell in the room, and apparently these guys were in the middle of a series of pranks that they were playing upon one another of some sort, or so they say. And basically, for lack of a better word, it seemed like D'Angelo was kind of baiting Nick Young into these questions about what had happened, as Nick Young was describing some of his conquests of the female persuasion that must have occurred while he was still with Iggy Azalea, his bride-to-be. And he recorded the video, and somehow it leaked. Now, we don't know how it leaked, but we have some guesses. We have some theories. We have some conspiracy theories we want to get into. But this story leaked, and it blew up all over the place. If you're an NBA fan, you know that NBA players, if you're like not just an NBA fan, but like a hardcore NBA person, for instance, Dwight Howard, he's got 7 baby mamas for
something
8 kids or something like that. Like a lot of these players get around, okay? They get stuff thrown at them all the time. Like Eddie Murphy throws them in. You know what I mean by stuff? I'm talking about the ladies. But anyway, so this video leaked, and the first thing you're thinking is, why the hell is he recording this in the first place? It's one thing to be talking to your homie about something that is pretty generally common knowledge in the pro sports world, that not everybody's bad, and it's not just pro sports. People cheat, people do whatever, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just a fact of life. It happens. It doesn't always happen. Not every relationship is that way, but with a lot of the NBA players, it is. And we're about to get out the craft time.
4,
So
3,
wait for this one, everybody.
2,
But it's halftime.
1. Hey, yo, it's halftime.
All right. So it is halftime. First episode of halftime with Aaron Tamayo on the show.
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
So I figure it's a good time to get to know Aaron a little bit. Sorry that the music was very loud in our headphones. I was just making a little adjustment there. So let me get to my halftime segment notes as I struggle on the mic here. Sorry, everybody. All right, so Aaron, you're the new guy here. So tell the people a bit about yourself. You cut my hair, so that's cool. Thank you for that. I think it looks good.
So, man, I reside out here on the South Bay, man. Born in Torrance, California. I've been cutting hair since 2010 professionally, man. Been doing it for a while.
You're wearing a Laker hat. That's cool.
I'm a huge Laker fan. I'm a huge sports fan. I love the Lakers, man. I think NBA over, I like the NBA a little bit more than the other sports, but
Me too. I'm an NBA guy.
but I
hands
watch
down.
here and there,
Yeah. I dabble.
Exactly.
All right, so cool, man. Well, thanks for being on the show. We're excited to have you. We hope you guys enjoy Aaron's personality on the mic, and hit us up and let us know if you do or if you don't. We're strong. We can take it.
I'll take it. Yeah.
So, how was your weekend, man? It's Monday right now. We're just back to the grind of the week. If you're not familiar with the show, if you're new to it, halftime we chop it up. We talk non-sports for a few minutes. We just do whatever we want, so you guys can get to know us and have a little bit of fun. And man, Aaron's blood was boiling as I was talking about D'Angelo Russell, so I need to cool him down before he even got started.
I had a good weekend, man. Everything was good. Worked a lot this weekend. Went out to the Conga Room this weekend, actually, at LA Live.
How was that?
It was pretty good, man. It was me and a couple friends, my girlfriend and her brother's fiance's birthday party there. So it was fun, man. Dinner and some dancing, man. So it was
nice.
fun.
Dude, I haven't danced in like a couple of years probably. I'm not a big dancer.
I'm get you out there,
I'm
man.
more of a headbanger. But okay, I've never been out there. I'm not a big club guy, but if you guys got something to go do, I'm game. I'm down.
Let's do it, man.
So I had a cool weekend. I went over to I'm not a church goer, although I did go to the Our Lady of Guadalupe Carnival this weekend in Redondo Beach. Or is that Hermosa right there? Either way, down the street. And it was pretty cool. They had some authentic Mexican food, dude.
Wow.
I'd never even had a pupusa before. And oh my God, those things are amazing.
That's Salvadorian food, though.
Oh,
but it's still...
well, they had, okay, then I don't even know what the hell I'm talking about. But they also had some carne asada tacos, so I just
Okay.
assumed it was all, they had taquitos. I assumed it was all just Mexican food because I know tacos are Mexican food, I think, right? But anyway, if you have never had a pupusa, it's like the dough is somewhere between a pancake dough and like a pizza dough, somewhere in between those two things. And then it's like they stuff it. It's not too thick, but they still find a way to stuff it with like some shredded pork and beans and cheese. And they served it with like this pickled like cabbage and like this really hot salsa. And oh my God, that was delicious.
Really good, huh?
Oh man. And then we went on this ride and I almost threw up because I was just like, what the hell? I'm at a carnival. That's what we're supposed to do, like the Sandlot. The only thing I was missing was chewing tobacco. So yeah, shout out to the Our Lady, the OLG Carnival. It was a good time. Support your local carnivals, people. you don't know how much you'll miss them until they're gone. All right, so halftime story here. The Dos Equis man, the most interesting man in the world. He's going on a one-way trip to Mars. Have you seen this new commercial?
I didn't see that.
Dude, he's gone. He is leaving. I heard about this like on ESPN a couple weeks ago as well. But
So it's not an April Fool's joke or anything?
no, I've seen it multiple times, not
Okay.
just on the first of the month. Which we're gonna get to that also. But yeah, I think it's like probably my favorite long-standing ad campaign in years, and it was extremely successful for Dos Equis. Their brand and their revenue, and their sales went through the roof with the start of that. Like police often question him simply because they find him interesting. Like that whole thing. Like I just loved it, and I thought it was so great. And they've made the decision to end it, and I've never heard a single person complain about that ad getting played out or tired or whatever. I know we a couple weeks ago talked about like I thought Geico and Progressive Insurance are all played out. I'm sick of Flo yelling at me every day. I'm sick of that stupid gecko lizard for Geico. I'm sick of Zoom for like that's the best you can come up with. Mazda is Zoom. Like there's so many brands that need a new image or whatever. I don't know why they're doing this. How do you feel about the most interesting man going to Mars on a one-way trip? His only regret is that he doesn't know what regret feels like.
I think that's pretty awesome, man. I like the Dos Equis beer itself, and I like the commercial, So
Yeah, I don't know why they're getting rid of him, man. It's a bad idea, don't you
bad
think?
idea, man. Yeah.
What are some of your favorite ad campaigns ever off the top of your head?
Doritos is really good too, man. Especially during like Super Bowl. I like that. I like Doritos.
They don't have like an ongoing one joke. Their whole thing is just they come up with the weirdest thing they can do, and that's just what they do, just so you could talk about them. Which, yeah, I guess it is like an ad campaign of tradition of just Super Bowl commercials being just weird. Like I guess so. Yeah, it is a kind of interesting way to take your brand, but it's also chips that everybody just is going to eat no matter what, so they don't have to try too hard.
But like you said, man, Flo's getting kind of played out too, man.
I am sick of Flo, man. I listen to sports radio all day at work, and I have to turn her all the way down. I'm just like, she's killing my ears. Drives me nuts. So let's move on. So this is kind of an interesting story. So the Lakers played Miami a couple days ago, and it was the day after the whole D'Angelo Russell saga kind of broke, and we'll get back into that after halftime, of course. But Lamar Odom was in the crowd. He was there, and anybody who knows me knows that Lamar Odom during the championship run. Obviously, I'm a Kobe guy, but other than Kobe, like Lamar was my favorite Laker. Absolutely love Lamar.
I love all the Lakers, man, but Lamar Odom, man, big dude that could push the floor.
Oh man, rebound and run. He could shoot. He could dribble. He could finish. He could pass. He could set screens. He was just like a Swiss Army knife out there. And just a great personality to give you the shirt off of his back. But apparently he's having some trouble even since returning from the dead practically. I saw a thing that said a source close to the family revealed recently to People that, quote, Chloe is very worried about Lamar and his behavior, but Lamar refuses to listen to her. He actually said to her, quote, nothing will happen to me. Look how I survived last time. So I guess he's drinking and stuff since coming back, and he just like almost already destroyed his kidneys and liver or something like that with that overdose. And he's just getting right back into it. So clearly he's not happy, and it's not really our place, but I just wanted to send well wishes because I love Lamar Odom and he's a Laker, and I know that LA and the rest of the basketball community is rooting for him because he's a good dude, and I just want to see him get it on track. And those damn Kardashians, I blame them.
Hey man, maybe one day we'll see Lamar's jersey retired. You know,
maybe. I mean, do you think he would get? Do you think Lamar is retired? He was two chips.
He played a big part, man.
He did, but
2 chips.
Well, the Lakers aren't going to retire his number because you got to get into the Hall of Fame for the Lakers to retire your number. They don't retire anybody who's not in the Hall of Fame. I mean, really, the only time they've ever done that was Shaq, and it's because they wanted to do it for before Dr. Jerry Buss passed.
Okay.
And they also knew that he was surely going to be a Hall of Famer, which he just was inducted, today?
Today, yeah.
So they knew that with Shaq that was going to happen, so that's a little different story. They knew that was going to happen, but anyway, we'll see. I don't know if Lamar will get his jersey retired, but I know his jersey's retired in our hearts. So yeah, finally for halftime, just a couple more things. April Fool's Day. Did anybody get you on April 1st?
You know what? Nobody got me, man.
No,
nobody got me.
Okay, so nobody has really ever that I can recall off the top of my head gotten me on April Fool's or even tried to get me. But I was my mom was out of town and she was with my aunt, and my cousin also lives out there, and we were talking about something serious, and they just go, "Oh, your aunt's chiming in. Your cousin? Did you hear your cousin Jessica? Jessica's pregnant." And I was like, what, are you kidding? My cousin and then a second later I was like, oh, April Fool. I just knew it couldn't be. Yeah. I just knew it wasn't the case at that particular moment, and I got. You
got, man.
I was like, it was pretty bad, but they got me. And so another thing that happened on April Fool's Day was pretty bad for Google. I got this from Damon Barres from the Huffington Post. It said Google apologized on Friday for an April Fool's Day prank that inadvertently caused some users to send animal gifs of Minion characters from the Despicable Me franchise or whatever, of Minion characters in important emails. The Google software engineer Victor Bogdan Anchedin, I have no idea how to say his name, said, well, it looks like we pranked ourselves this year. The company had attempted to mark the day with a temporary Gmail feature called Mic Drop. The feature added an orange send button that would add to your message an animation of a minion dropping a microphone and automatically archive any responses, giving you the illusion of the last word in any conversation you were participating in. But apparently the button looked just like the regular send button, and then they were placed right next to one another. So it just basically left a bunch of people pissed off that they accidentally sent unprofessional emails out. And apparently one person said they even got fired for an email that they sent out. So it got pretty serious pretty fast for Google. So They had a little egg on their face, and they looked like April Fools. But I just had to bring that up because I was like, wow, why would they take it that far and be that stupid? But anyway, that's all I really had for halftime. You got anything you want to get off your chest today, Aaron?
No, man.
No, just D'Angelo Russell.
Let's do D'Angelo Russell,
All
man.
right.
I hope that I was wishing that the whole thing was an April Fool's joke, man. I was waiting for somebody to be like, you know what? Me and Nick are cool. It was an April Fool's joke, man. And they would have got us all.
Oh,
they would have got everybody, man.
Oh, man. I don't know if Iggy would have liked that joke too much, though. So anyway, we're just saying, so the video got leaked somehow, and it was basically 30 seconds long, Swaggy P talking about some girls he was, getting with while he was still engaged. Now, do you think that there was intent? Do you think, okay, my whole thing that I think where we kind of disagree is I think we both agree that just videotaping in general, no matter what you're videotaping, dumbest idea in the world. But apparently that's just the way, the younger, I guess we're millennials too, but I'm not a big, I don't videotape when I'm hanging out with my homies. I never grab my phone and I'm going to videotape this. Yeah. If you I'm more inclined to take a picture of a good plate of food, and I don't share it on Facebook most of the time, so people don't hate me for that. But you know what I mean?
Exactly.
But I guess that's just kind of what these guys did. They would videotape themselves with whatever it was and send it to each other, and I think his intent was maybe to say, "Oh, I got you, man," in case just one of those things whatever. Now, the thought process behind that is extremely juvenile and extremely immature, and I don't really have a defense for it, and I'm not going to try.
I don't think it was wrong that he was I mean, yeah, you shouldn't record at all.
Because just on the surface, just blanket statement, bad idea, don't record.
Bad idea, don't record, man. But for it to get sent out, because in the end of the video he says, "Oh, hey Nick, thanks for saying this to my video."
But that's the reason why I don't think that there was malice behind it, because why would you say that if you're really trying to set somebody up? You know what I mean? If you said that to me and I was like, "Oh, I got you on video,"
but then you delete it, you know what I'm saying?
Well, that's the part where Nick, we don't know what happened after that video got stopped, or after that part that we saw ended. We don't know what happened. We don't know if Nick said, "Yo, what'd you do with that video?" or if he was just like, "Oh, whatever, he's messing with me." We don't know what happened. What we do know happened is the video leaked, and it leaked somehow. Now, what has happened in the aftermath? D'Angelo has faced the music. He spoke to the team. He talked to Kobe about it. Kobe had a situation like this back in the day with the whole thing in Colorado where
he threw Shaq
under the bus, and he was facing potential jail time. He was fighting for his life, and whatever. Who knows? I don't want to get into the whole Kobe thing. I got my opinions on it. We can talk about it at some other point if we really want to go deep into this. And like I said, this story could continue for a while because it's just fascinating to me. But I don't know I don't think that there was malice involved. I don't know why you would, but somehow it did leak. I have my theory. You want to hear what my theory is?
Yeah. What
I heard. I should give Marcellus Wiley some credit, because although I think he's crazy a lot of the time, I think he hit it right on the head on this one. I heard it on Max and Marcellus. He said he clearly is covering for somebody close in his circle who leaked it somehow. I think he took that video and he texted it to a couple of his boys, and he was like, "Man, I got Swaggy, man, talking stuff on his Iggy or whatever," just part of the prank. And maybe he was going to have one of his buddies send it to Nick, and then Nick would put it together when D'Angelo said, "Oh man, I saw you on that video," or "Thanks for saying that to my video." So
kind of just to keep it in between them.
Yeah, okay, so say for instance, we got your brother or one of your homies or whatever, and I got you on video, and I send that video to your buddy, and then your buddy sends it to you and he goes, "Oh look, Kev's got you."
And it's kind of like,
it's kind of like
it's out, but
yeah,
it's between.
Right. And then you're like, "Oh, snap. Not such Kev, but my other homie's got it." And you don't know if your other homie's in on it, even though I put him in on it. So we're getting you, right?
Yeah.
Boom. You got. So whatever maniacal thought process was going on in his mind. And obviously I'm trying to make sense out of this nonsense here. So I realize this is all just totally throwing paper towels at the wall and seeing what sticks. But the video did get out, and I don't want to hear the excuse, "Oh, the cloud got it." I don't think the cloud got it. I think somebody else got their hands on it, and that's the reason why it leaked to a website that posts this gossip. You know what I mean? It got into the hands of somebody who paid for it. So I think one of his boys got the video and was like, "Man, I know D'Angelo's cool, but man, I can make a cool 6 figures if I just sell this to famulous.com or whatever it is. And I think he's covering for his boy. So he's just saying, I have no idea how it leaked, and I feel terrible about it. And he seems to be, to me, he seems to be genuine. And going forward, I do think he and the guys will recover. The core of the Lakers, nobody's older than 23 years old. I think Larry Nance is the oldest guy of the young players, and I think he's 23. He might be 22. Every one of those kids is learning a big, valuable lesson in being in LA. Yeah, in being in LA, wearing the purple and gold, being under the bright lights, what social media is about, and how much people care about the Lakers, and how big of a story this type of thing is in the NBA. Because this is the other part I wanted to get to. That all said and done, let's just, before we move on, go ahead. Do you have anything that you want to respond to?
I want to believe him. I want to believe D'Angelo. I think with the days that have passed, I do feel bad for him because during the press conference, you kind of feel the awkwardness that he was sorry and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, man, like,
you're just mad at the stupidity still.
Yeah.
I am too. And I think that, I mean, do you know any 19-year-olds, man? There's a lot of 19-year-olds that are just,
You know what? There is a lot of 19-year-olds, but then I know a lot of younger people that understand that boundary.
Right.
And
Clark. Well, look at a guy like Jordan Clarkson. He's only like a year older than him. Remember at the All-Star weekend, Jordan Clarkson they were asked all these questions, like when they were doing the rookie sophomore challenge game or whatever it was, and they were getting all those questions asked about Byron Scott. Do you think in the second half of the season Byron's going to take the reins off of you guys and let you guys go out there and play? So it's like a setup question implying that they've been held back in the start of the season. And Clarkson just goes to him under the mic and he kind of goes, yo, don't say nothing stupid. And the microphone picked it up, though. He said, don't say nothing crazy is actually what he said. And so it goes to show you, Clarkson gets it. And he is right in the same age bracket. It's not like he's 29, 30, 26. Where he's a year apart from D'Angelo. So there are guys that do get it. You're right. So I don't really know where that leaves us or whatever. But my question to you is, do you think this is going to affect the Lakers' ability in any way, shape, or form to sign a free agent?
It's tough, man. I could play devil's advocate, and a guy like a big free agent this year is gonna be Kevin Durant, man.
Yeah.
And trying to convince him to come over to the Lakers, I 100% believe that will go through his mind.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're gonna go to LA and the Lakers are trying to shop for him, and we're gonna do this whole big presentation, and then they're gonna be like, all right, trust is a big thing in the NBA and in any team sport.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
maybe the Lakers throw D'Angelo in that meeting, and D'Angelo goes, yo, I learned my lesson. This will not be a problem. Imagine me passing you the ball on the break, getting you wide open 3-pointers and dunks. How you like that? You know what I mean? That you can squash it, because apparently that's the way D'Angelo has been approaching this. He talked to the whole team. He's answered, apparently after the game against Miami when this whole story broke, he stayed in the locker room and answered every single question the members of the media had for him. He did not leave. He didn't do that whole like, oh, it's behind me, it's over with type BS response, non-response type thing. He actually faced the music, answered every question. The only thing that we don't know, because he won't tell us, is how it got out. He claims he doesn't know. We just gave our theory on it. So I think all I'm trying to say is, I don't think, as big of an issue as it is or could be, I do believe that the Lakers will get past it. I think they have bigger issues to worry about than Nick Young and his girlfriend videos. I just feel like D'Angelo's going to learn the lesson. Nick Young ain't going to be here for very long. Not like he's contributing anything to the team right now anyway. Byron Scott won't even give him any minutes because he thinks he's a clown. And I know we all like Swaggy's personality, and I'd love to go hang out with him at the club and do some of that dancing at the conga room with him. but I mean, he's like a Drew League player, man. He wants to just go shoot buckets.
Yeah.
He doesn't play defense. He doesn't take it seriously enough, at least from the looks of it.
Like when the story broke out, man, I put myself in Swaggy's position, and I'm like, dude, I hate this kid. Man.
Yeah.
Even in the beginning of the season, when I was on the podcast last, I was like, I'm still questioning this dude, D'Angelo. But what D'Angelo needs to do to get over it, he needs to ball his butt off.
That's exactly what Kobe did, and nobody talks about Kobe's problems anymore.
Yeah, but, Kobe didn't throw Shaq on the bus his rookie season, So D'Angelo needs to
ball out big time.
Because you know, even if Nick Young wants to play the victim or whatever, what if the video was something different? What about it was Nick Young talking about Byron Scott? You know,
right? It could be. This only really hurts Nick Young and his fiance's relationship. It doesn't really hurt the Lakers as long as D'Angelo can use the right words for any free agents that are apprehensive. But if it was something that was detrimental directly to the team, like you're just saying right there, I would be even more pissed about
would
it.
you if D'Angelo's recording Nick saying like, oh yeah, I don't like Julius Randle, he's a ball hog.
Imagine this. What if he said some smack about Kobe? We'd all hate. We would all destroy him.
Yeah.
We would all be calling for his head right now.
True. But see, that's the point, man. That
you're so stupid to record, D'Angelo. Keep your phone off.
You know what LaMarcus Aldridge did this year that was pretty cool? Well, I didn't think it was going to be a big deal, but I guess the stats proved it right. He deleted his Twitter this season with Spurs.
I like it.
So he said no sideline distractions or anything like that, and his numbers are up from last year.
Are they up? Because I remember they were down earlier, but the team was playing so. I mean, if the Warriors weren't doing what the Warriors were doing, we would be talking about the Spurs the way we talk about the Warriors. Yeah. We'd be going, man, they win every game. They're going to win 70 games this year. It's just because the Warriors are just insane that we're not talking about them so much. But
back to like D'Angelo, man.
Yeah, if it was detrimental to the team, we'd be even more pissed than we are.
And they're saying that, you know, the Lakers, I just read the other day, they're planning to ship out Nick Young. They just need to figure out who would take Nick Young.
Well, I mean, I think they were going to try to do that anyway. The problem is who's going to take Nick Young. I mean, he's on the cheap. I think we signed like a $4 million a year contract or something, not crazy. But he doesn't get any minutes under Byron anyway. You know what I mean? He's just sitting there taking up a roster spot. Marcelo Huertas gets more minutes, and Marcelo Huertas can't guard anybody unless he hides behind Eric Spoelstra for steals.
Yeah, that was sick, though.
That was the sickest play ever. That was a veteran Euro. Oh man,
yeah,
it was the coolest play ever. If you didn't see that, look up Marcelo Huertas hiding behind
Houdini,
Eric Spoelstra.
man.
It was the sweetest play ever against the Heat the other night.
I got a question for you, Kev.
All right, what's that?
So how can D'Angelo convince the veteran guys? Because it's so, you know, like you said, Clarkson's so close to age with him. You could tell like they got each other's back.
Yeah.
A guy like Lou Will, a guy like Nick Young, you know, you can obviously see that it bothers him. Brandon Bass, you know, those veterans on the team.
Yeah.
What can D'Angelo do to get those guys' trust back, man?
Pass them the ball, keep his mouth shut, and he's probably still never going to get their trust back. I don't think he's going to. I think that those guys, we haven't. I want to get to this article about D'Angelo Russell because I want people that might not necessarily know his personality so well to get a feel for this kid because he's extremely confident in himself, like to the nth degree. Like he is. D'Angelo is about D'Angelo, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, these are all. I mean, we're talking about, you know, number 2 overall draft pick, alpha male, great basketball player. I remember, okay, here's a good example. They asked him the other day, so did this, I think it was like Serena Winters from LakersNation.com. She asked him, did this experience humble you in any way? You know what his answer was?
No, I don't know.
He said, I'm still the same guy. He said he's not going to concede anything. And I don't necessarily dislike that answer. I know you want to hear, yeah, I'm humbled and blah, blah, blah. But I mean, did Kobe ever say, oh, I'm humbled by this? No, because they still believe in themselves. And that's what you want for somebody who's going to play under the bright lights. That's what you want from your top draft pick. That's what you want from somebody who's supposed to be the superstar and run the show. But to answer your question, I don't think he's going to get his trust back from a guy like Lou Williams, but that's because Lou Williams is a Lou Williams guy. I don't think of Lou Williams as a team guy. Brandon Bass, I don't think he could care, really. I think Brandon Bass is just kind of happy to play in the league and just, you know, serve his role because that's what he's always done. He's a soft-spoken cat. You know, he'll get you his, you know, 11 points and 8 rebounds and just do what he does. But I'm more concerned about the youngsters, and I think that they're resilient and they're going to be okay. I mean, Clarkson said, hey, man, those are my guys. You know, they just got to work through it. And the fact that they went out the very next day and beat Miami, I thought that really showed that, hey, we're not going to let something like a cell phone video break up what we're going to become. I thought that game was actually really telling into their character because the Lakers got, 15 wins this year? Like, they're hardly anything. We can't beat anybody. And we went out that night and beat a playoff team. And Kobe played like 9 minutes in that game before he was wrapped up like the Michelin Man.
He had like 2 points.
He sat in the second quarter or whatever it was, and he didn't come back in the rest of the game. Those youngsters went out there and they were like, yo, we're going to win this game. We don't want to talk about this stupid video anymore. And I think that was a very insightful glimpse into their character. And I'm hopeful, man. I mean, what else can you do? Because the Lakers aren't going to trade him. They're going to trade Nick Young.
Yeah, like they said, people forget quickly, man. I think D'Angelo hit a quick 3 in the beginning of overtime, and the crowd.
I remember
cheered him on. You know?
I remember texting you and I said, "Hey, are they going to boo him?"
Oh yeah,
Before the game, I said, "Are they going to boo tonight?" And I think I told you, I think they will, but not crazy. And if you watched, I think you sent me the video the next day too. They did boo, but not like the most hatred and like, you know, loud boos you've ever, hatred fueled and loud boos.
All the cheaters in the building boo, man.
They're like, hey, guy code, man, keep him out. Hey, Eddie Murphy, shut up, man. Just like, have you seen Eddie Murphy Raw? He's like, Eddie, shut up, man. So yeah, I think it's kind of that type of thing where Laker fans are. What do Laker fans care about? Laker fans care about winning basketball games, and anything like this that's a distraction from winning when we already have enough hurdles to get over with the chaos going on with Jim Buss and Jeannie and the time limit and all that crap. You know what I mean? It's crazy. I think the youngsters are going to be okay. I think the Lakers are going to be okay. They'll figure it all out. But let's look into D'Angelo's personality a little bit, just so you can kind of see where he's coming from. I got this article from Kevin Ding. It came out like mid last month, but we haven't been on the air for a while. So I thought it was really insightful and still important to talk about, especially in light of this whole scandal, to kind of get a look into the mind of D'Angelo Russell. I took a couple excerpts from the article that I thought were most poignant. So Kevin Ding from the Bleacher Report, he opens the article and he says, "For those who insist we must accord our fellow man respect or treat everyone and their opinions equally, D'Angelo Russell isn't your guy. Never will be. You might even think he's kind of a jerk. He wouldn't care if you did. That's because for someone who just turned 20, he has an astounding level of comfort in his own skin. Russell is going to be a superstar, and a big reason why has little to do with basketball. He has confidence rooted in belief and ambition, and he is unafraid of sharing that." So it says, if you believe true admiration can only be earned, if you don't have time to suffer fools, if you demand more of yourself and all those close to you, then you will love the life philosophy of Russell has developed for himself the last year. Quote, "I knew what I was capable of," he said. "I've watched people dominate at this level. It's all mental, you know what I'm saying? I feel like I had that. Experience will help it pan out a little better, but it's all mental. I don't think I would have ever had the opportunity to play well if I came in thinking I would never be able to dominate. I'd rather be a player that a franchise is being built around and that it's a successful build. Winning playoff games, knowing that we're one of the teams that's going to win, knowing that when you play against the Lakers, you've got to worry about losing, not like right now." So those are my favorite parts of the article. I like those quotes, and it gives you just a little look into the mind of him. He believes he is a number 2. He probably believes he's a number 1 overall draft pick that just got drafted number 2. And he's kept a completely straight face through this entire scandal, steady as a rock. Who knows what has happened off camera, but I think he'll be okay. I'm not really tripping on Nick Young. I'm glad it wasn't something that affected the coach or another player on the team that might have a more significant role in the future of the team. You know what I mean? Like if he was saying something about Clarkson or Randall or one of the guys that I think is part of the future of the Lakers, I'd be tremendously upset. This is something that I chalk it up to youthful stupidity. So
yeah, with time, man. I think time
will tell.
Time will tell.
And time will heal, hopefully. But we shall see. So the Lakers played their last game against the Celtics over the weekend. Kobe dropped 34 points. He took a lot of shots, but just the fact that in his 20th season he could still get you 34 against the Green, I think he was sending a statement to the youngsters like, hey, when you play the Celtics, you get ready for battle.
Yeah.
And he did the same thing. You actually went to Kobe's last game in Boston, didn't you?
Yeah, I went to Boston this year in December, yeah. Kobe, I think he maybe had like 18 points. He had his first double-double of the season.
That was one of the best games the Lakers played all year, though.
It was crazy, man. Just being in sea of green, man. I went behind enemy lines.
I've always had a dream to go into the Garden wearing purple and gold.
Yeah, man. Shout out to my boy Robert too, man.
Shout out to Robert.
So we went out there to Boston, man, Beantown. It was one of the best games I've ever seen. It was crazy. It was electric, man. There was a lot of Lakers fans there, obviously because of Kobe's, but classy introduction, man. Mm-hmm. Everyone was real cool. No one was really disrespectful, man. Obviously, you had your people, diehard Celtics fans that were kind of giving us a hard time, but man,
the Lakers suck. We like Boston better.
Exactly, man. Exactly, all day. But man,
They've got Larry Bird. He's a god.
Yep, exactly, man.
Well, that's really cool. I think it's important for Kobe to kind of pass down that legacy, just because I'd like to think that in a few years, I mean, look at Boston. They got a young up-and-coming team. The Lakers got some good young players. I'd like to see 6-7 years down the road. I mean, hopefully sooner than that, but realistically, with how young the Lakers are, it'll probably be a few years. But I'd like to see that rivalry
again.
Yeah, and I think that Kobe was just, with his actions, trying to teach the kids a lesson about playing against the Celtics.
That was cool, man.
It was cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, shout out to Kobe's got 9 days left in his career. Two home games left.
Oh my god! 2 home games. You got the Clippers and then Utah, right?
Yeah. One of the Clipper. There's an additional Clipper. A Clipper away game. So we'll have 3 games left in Staples. But man, oh man, it's crazy. All right, what do you say we break it up and play a little game real quick, and then we'll get back into around the NBA and some NFL and MLB coverage. Let's do it.
Now, are you ready to play the game?
You wanna play that game?
Back in the game now.
Are you ready?
All right, Aaron. So Villanova just won their second championship in school history. Their first championship since, 85, I believe?
85, yeah.
So what I have here is a list of men's Division I college basketball repeat champions, so teams that have won more than one championship at the collegiate level. And I have a list. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So including Villanova, 15. So you've got one of them. I'm going to give you, what do you say, a minute, and just reel off as many as you can. Okay. So 1 minute on the clock, please. That's me talking to my thumb that is doing this on my phone. And go for it.
Okay, so Villanova, Duke.
Yes.
Let's go with North Carolina.
Yes.
Let's go with Michigan.
Yes, Michigan State, yeah.
Let's see, UCLA.
Number 1 with 11.
Woo! I'm thinking Louisville.
Yep.
I remember Louisville. UConn.
Connecticut, yep.
Let's go with Florida.
Yep.
Dang.
Anthony Davis.
Kentucky.
Yep.
Alright.
Hoosiers.
Hoosiers.
Midwest.
Ohio.
Oh, time's up. That was Indiana.
I'm sorry.
You did pretty good though. You got 1, 2, 3,
like
4,
that.
5, 6, 7, 8. You got 9 of them. That's pretty good. So UCLA with 11 wins, Kentucky with 8, Duke with 5, Indiana with 5, North Carolina with 5, Connecticut with 4, Kansas with 3, Louisville with 3, Cincinnati with 2, Florida with 2, Michigan State with 2, North Carolina State with 2, Oklahoma State with 2, and San Francisco with 2. So there's all your repeat champions.
I was just trying to figure out like all the big schools, and we're all these players.
You did better. To be honest, you probably did better than I would have on that one. I'm not a big college guy, so that was impressive.
Because I was like, Kareem was on UCLA, right? You know?
Yeah. Good job on the game, man. Props on that one. That was fun. All right, so let's move on over to some other NBA coverage. We talked a lot of Lakers, but there's been a lot of drama in Lakerland, and that needed to get gotten to. All right, so let's talk about the Warriors, because realistically, we're just going to be talking playoff teams. It's the end of the regular season. It's about time to get ready for the real business. And the Warriors have been the talk of the NBA and the main story all season long, and rightfully so, and deservedly so. They almost lost to Utah, what was it, like on Wednesday or Thursday, and they had to kick it into gear, and they ended up getting a nice road win in overtime. Yeah. And then Boston came into their house on Friday and ended their 54 home game winning streak. So they had not lost a home game in over a year, excluding in the playoffs, but a regular season home game in over a year. That's incredible. You get 41 home games. 54, that's incredible. And even then, I mean, the Warriors were right there. I mean, they had a chance at the end of the game. And Boston just played hard-nosed defense, gritty basketball. Isaiah Thomas, what did he say? He had like a poor first half, didn't he? And he came out and he had a great second half. And he said, "Oh yeah, man, he goes, I would just try to be more aggressive, and also I changed my shoes. You know, those other shoes didn't have no buckets in them, so I put on my Kobe's." Yeah, and by the way, I just gotta say, Paul Pierce would have never said that. That was pretty sweet to hear a Celtic shout out a Lakers shoe for getting him some buckets. Yeah. But that goes to show you it's a new time these days.
Yeah. Isaiah's nice, man.
And he grew up a Laker fan, so he's all right.
And his dad's a huge Kobe fan, too.
If you don't know the story, Isaiah Thomas, the Lakers were playing the Pistons, I think, in like 1990. It was either 89 or 90. And I think it was the year that James Worthy got hurt. But his dad was a huge Lakers fan and bet one of his buddies that was a Pistons fan that the Lakers would win the series, and ended up losing the series. And the bet was that if the Lakers lost, he would name his to-be son, because his wife was pregnant at the time, or girlfriend was pregnant, whatever, was pregnant with Isaiah at the time. He would name him Isaiah Thomas. Oh, wow. The Lakers lost, and he is a man of his word. So he had to grow up in L.A. as a Laker fan with the name Isaiah Thomas, and now he plays on the Celtics.
Oh,
isn't that a
that's
trip?
A crazy story. I know. Nah, he's nice, man.
He is. He's fun to watch.
That last quarter, crazy too, man.
Yeah, great game. So the Warriors, they lost their home record, and immediately everybody goes, "Oh, they're gonna collapse at the end of the season." No, they're not going to collapse. They went and took on the Blazers and Damian Lillard a couple nights later and restored everything in the world. And Festus Ezeli is back, so they're getting healthy in time for the playoffs. Obviously, they're still waiting for Iguodala to come back, but he's not too far away. So it really leaves the question, what are the Spurs going to do down the stretch here with basically nothing to play for? They're not going to get any higher than the 2 seed. They're not going to surpass the Warriors for the number 1 seed. They're going to be resting their players, but the one thing they still have going is they still have not lost on their home floor. And you wonder, are they going to try to defend that home court for no particular reason other than to keep it in the Warriors' heads that they cannot win in San Antonio? Because there's no real reason to play. Popovich has no problem losing a game.
See, that's what I don't get with Popovich. Like,
do you think that they're going to... Okay, I think the Warriors play the Spurs 2 more times.
2 more times.
One in Golden State, which you just assume that the Spurs are just going to sit and rest. Yeah. But the Warriors haven't won in San Antonio since 1997.
I believe Popovich, man. I don't think he cares about the home record. He said it was worth a cup of coffee, if anything. But I don't know if that's mind games.
Yeah, that could be he could just be, playing semantics.
Yeah,
or whatever. That's not the right word, but you know what I mean. He could just be playing.
So he could bench everybody. Possum. Exactly.
He could be playing.
So it's gonna be crazy.
It remains to be seen, but
I kind of want him to rest maybe in Golden State, but play your guys.
I think you got. I think you've got to play at home, because you don't want the last memory before you go into the playoffs to be a loss on your home floor when you haven't lost on your home floor in forever.
And like we talked about earlier, man, you need that momentum to get into the playoffs.
Right.
Man.
I mean, who knows? I mean, the Warriors seem like they're going to recover just fine after losing on their home floor, so maybe they don't care. But the difference is the Warriors don't really care much about who they have to play at home. They care about having to go into San Antonio and getting a win where they have not been able to do it. And I think the Spurs know that come playoffs, if they're so lucky to get past whoever they have to get past and get all the way to the Western Conference Finals and play those Warriors, if they are in a situation where the Warriors if they can go steal one in Golden State or whatever.
It's a statement game, I feel like.
And then they force Golden State to have to come to San Antonio and get a win. Don't you want them to feel like if you're the Spurs, you don't want the Warriors thinking, oh, well, we just won here a couple weeks ago. Who cares if it was 1997 since the last time we did it? We just did it a couple weeks ago. You want them thinking, man, we never win here and we have to win. Like, you want to put that pressure on them, I feel like, if you're the Spurs. So remains to be seen. If I'm Pop, if all systems are go, guys are healthy, ramping up for the playoffs, I say you play your players at home. I think it's already like a given that they're going to rest in Golden State. I just think, you know what I mean? I don't think that they're going to try against the Warriors in Golden State, but we'll see though. I mean, that's an interesting streak to try to. The timing of it is really fun.
Because then you got the Golden State trying to break the 85-86 Bulls record.
Not 95-96.
95-96.
Yeah, it's the timing is great. Really, I'm glad that the Golden State Warriors have to get tested. Hopefully, get tested down the stretch against a team like the Spurs, another all-time team, really.
What if they get spoiled again, though, and lose their first round to the Clippers or something like that, you know?
I'm not going to lie to you. It's a possibility, man, because if I was thinking about the Spurs roster the other day, I watched that game where they beat – who did they beat recently? No, it was the game where they beat the Warriors in San Antonio like a month ago or whatever it was, or 3 weeks ago. And I went back and I looked at the box score. You know who led the team in minutes in that game? It was 3 dudes. That I think the number one guy that led the entire team in minutes was Boris Diaw.
Wow.
He's like their Draymond Green, except he's a little older and a little slower, but he's also a little more savvy probably. Not maybe quite as versatile, but
he can shoot. I think he can shoot better, right?
But he is very versatile. I'm not saying he's not versatile. He's just maybe not quite as athletically versatile as Draymond Green is, but he is a playmaker. He knows how to set a pick. He knows how to roll. He knows how to pass. He knows how to shoot. He knows how to defend. He knows how to rebound. He's their guy. And the other 2 dudes are Kawhi Leonard and LaMarcus Aldridge. They're a completely different team. I think in that game, Tim Duncan played 8 minutes against the Warriors. He has no matchup in that series. So they're not the team that everybody just kind of ignores the Spurs because every time you turn them on, they're up by 7 points or 9 points, and it's boring, and then they win by 14 or 16. And you're just like, it's the same thing every time. But it's because they are just like a flat line of just steadiness. They are steady like a rock. Do they have the horses to beat this, this unstoppable force that is just 3-pointer after 3-pointer after 3? Do they have what it takes?
It was funny because we went to a game last year.
Yeah, we went
to San Antonio and
we went to Game 5, Clippers Spurs, right?
Spurs, yeah, and the Spurs took it, right?
Yeah, the Spurs. I think they won the game, and then Clippers ended up forcing a Game 7.
But isn't it how crazy now they got LaMarcus Aldridge now?
Yeah.
You know?
And David West with those huge hands. They have like the dudes with the 2 biggest hands like in the league practically. Like David West and Kawhi Leonard, they got those baseball mitts. But I was talking with that security guard at my work today. But anyway, I just thought that was funny. But anyway, yeah, they're a totally different team than it's not a Parker, Ginobili, whatever. Like the one thing that made the Spurs so dynamic the last couple times they won was Tony Parker's ability to get into the paint. That was something that, LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Ray Allen and those guys had trouble with. Like they couldn't stop Tony Parker from getting into the paint. He doesn't do that quite as effectively now. They're basically reliant upon Boris Diaw to just play solid ball, Kawhi Leonard to be their playmaker, and LaMarcus Aldridge to just do what he does, hit turnaround jump shots. And we'll see. I mean, I know that it's easy to say, they'll lose to the Warriors, but I just don't know if they're going to be like athletic enough in a 7-game series to really, like the Clippers could beat them again if it gets to that. It could happen again. Because last year nobody thought the Clippers were going to do it necessarily, but they were able to do it, and it basically cost the Clippers Chris Paul's hamstring and the rest of their playoff run. Remember how tired and beat up he was at the end of that, and that's why the Rockets were able to come all the way back from down 3-1. But so anyway, we'll see. So what else with the Warriors? So they beat Portland the other night. Lillard finally had a good game in Portland, in Golden State in his hometown in Oakland, and he had like 39 points. A close game, and then all of a sudden the Warriors just exploded. Also in the West, Blake Griffin finally got cleared to practice, and then he served his 4-game suspension, and he finally came back for his team. They got a W against the Wizards on Sunday. He finished the game with 6 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists, so he didn't really have his legs back, but he had a plus-minus of like plus 22, the highest plus-minus on the team. So I feel like when he was in the lineup, the fact that Crawford and Redick and Paul have been able to step up and basically they've impressed me because don't get me wrong, they've had some ups and downs or whatever, but the fact that, JJ Redick and Jamal Crawford, who's older than dirt, are going out there, and Chris Paul, who's got very few.
He's beat up, yeah.
Yeah, he's beat up, and he has very few advantages out there on the floor physically. They've kept the Clippers afloat, and they figured out a way to play without Blake. And now that he's in there, he had 6 points, but the Clippers just were able to, have a great game, and everything was easier for their team when he was in the lineup, in spite of the fact that he wasn't producing at the level they're accustomed to. So give him a week or two. Playoffs are going to be starting. He'll get his game legs back. Clippers are going to be right there. And the fact that he really sat out all that time with basically like a micro tear in his quad, which they're saying is okay now, and a broken hand, which is no big deal. It's just a fracture in your hand. There's not really like a transitional period to recover from that. He's fine. He's got fresh legs. Is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. And that's what they need because they wore down in the playoffs last year.
I wonder how bad that fracture was for his hand. You think he'll be dunking like he used to?
Well, if it's just a fracture, like a non-displaced fracture and stuff, I think he's going to be fine. I've broken like 6 of my fingers, and I've played through them and stuff. As long as they're not displaced, you're okay.
You're okay.
I'm a guitar player too. Like I've broken my fingers, and I still have full dexterity and stuff. Okay. I didn't hear anything. I think we would have heard about it if it was more serious. Like if I say avulsion fracture, what does that ring any bells? Remember Kobe when his finger was
broken?
That was a serious break. Yeah. So we would know is what I'm trying to say. But anyway, enough of Blake Griffin and the Clippers. We're a Lakers show. So the last NBA note I wanted to get to was just that the 2018 All-Star Game is going to be in LA again. So that'll be cool.
That'd be sick.
We should go, man. All-Star would be fun. I've never been, but that'd be an experience. Just a lot of people don't like All-Star games because they're like purists or whatever. But to me, it's like I make an exception for pro sports because I just feel like that's what we want to see. We want to see the best of the best, and that's the best athletes in the world are in the NBA All-Star Game.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to some baseball. The Dodgers opened up their season today against the Padres, and it was a straight up shellacking. 15 to nothing. Is that even a word? I don't care. 15 to nothing Dodgers in San Diego. So the Dodgers will open up their season next week, I believe. Wednesday or something is the home opener. But Kershaw was on the mound, and I think he's like 6-0 in season openers for the Dodgers. So that's cool. But that's what we expect from Clayton Kershaw anyway. Are you a big baseball fan, Aaron?
Closer to the playoffs, I am, man.
Yeah.
Like I like opening day this week, and then I'll kind of fall back from it, just watch some NBA playoffs and finals. And
you know what I always tell people is it takes me about 1 month after the NBA finals to really engage into the pace of baseball because I like baseball, but as a basketball fan, it's like there's like an adjustment period before I get into it. So like usually like mid-July, early August, I can finally start just letting the soothing tones of Vin Scully's voice just kind of rock me to sleep on the couch. You know what I mean? Like it takes me a little time, but eventually I love the game. I love baseball. It's just I'm a hoops guy, and we'll have to decide later if the show is going to go on in the summer. Let us know if you want to hear the basket cases talk balls and bats. You know what I mean? That'd be a funny name of a show. So anyway, the Dodgers opened up their season today. Injuries are an issue for the team, and the season has just begun. Andre Ethier fractured his tibia hitting a ball off of himself in spring training. So they constructed the team for depth to be able to withstand things like this, but losing Zach Greinke to the Diamondbacks for the 6th year that they gave him on their contract extension, or contract offer, I should say, that the Dodgers were not willing to give. They're playing by their own set of rules, man. The Dodgers want depth. They don't want crazy long contracts. They don't want anybody getting too old on their team. It's a new time in Dodger land. So we'll see, but you may not see if you don't have Time Warner Cable, though. Do you have Time Warner Cable, Aaron?
I do.
So we're the lucky ones, the chosen few that get to watch the Dodgers. If you're not aware, they basically have this channel, the Dodgers channel, Sportsnet or whatever. Like the Lakers have their own Time Warner channel as well. But DirecTV was not happy with the price that they were going to have to charge their customers or whatever, starting, last year? So like 70% of Los Angeles does not have Dodger games available to them on their TV. And some people can't even get Time Warner Cable if they want it because it's not available in their area. So this is Vin Scully, the legendary Dodger announcer's last season calling games in Los Angeles. He's the reason why I fell in love with basketball because of Michael Jordan when I was like a little kid. I watched those Bulls teams and I was like, Michael Jordan was like a superhero to me. And for me, the only person that has done that for me in baseball is not a player. It's Vin Scully. I learned the game. I learned about the players. I learned about baseball. I learned about the culture. I learned about what every player liked to eat for breakfast, and because Vin Scully was the best. He's like the best broadcast, not just sports, just like the best broadcaster like ever. He's so engaging and entertaining.
I say he's like the Chick Hearn.
He's
for baseball, man.
Totally.
Yeah.
He's fantastic. Chick Hearn was the best too. I mean, he was one of the other reasons that was the Laker games were so fun to watch back in the day when we were kids and before we were even born. He was with the team. So anyway, the story with the whole TV deal though is that DirecTV and AT&T, they've merged, I believe. They won't even sit down with the Dodgers and Time Warner right now. Time Warner has finally agreed to negotiate, at least try to negotiate, and they've offered to lower the rate of the channel by 30%. And DirecTV won't even sit down to talk right now. So I encourage you, if you want your kids to not have baseball escape, their childhood and stuff. If you don't have DirecTV, if you don't have Time Warner Cable, and you don't want a generation of baseball to be lost, yell at DirecTV. But the problem is DirecTV is not getting enough pushback from their customers, and I think it's a shame. But that's just the way it is. I think people are just kind of accepting the fact that you either go to the game or you just don't care. So
how did they do it for the Lakers?
Because they cut the deal. The DirecTV bought the channel. Because here's the thing: as much as big of a deal as the Dodgers are in LA, and they're a big deal. They've been here for a long time. LA is a Lakers town. If the Lakers were taken off the air, there would be riots in the streets. And for some reason, Dodger fans just go to the games instead. And they draw 3-4 million people a year. And not enough people are up in arms about this, but they should be.
You know what? You funny to say that because one of my clients is from New York, huge Yankees fan. He said that would never happen in New York.
Yeah, they have the Yes Network. They have the same type of thing out there in New York. They have a Yankees channel called the Yes Network, and that's they have the same thing going on, but that would never happen because everybody in New York needs to watch their Yankees, and that's the reason why when Time Warner. Because the Lakers used to be on Fox Sports Net or whatever, Fox Sports West, and then Time Warner paid what was $20 billion or something like that, huge multiple $1 billion contract for a 20-year span or something like that to own all the Laker games. And they negotiated with the other cable companies and made it work. For some reason, DirecTV will not play the game right now with Time Warner, and LA is the one they're the ones losing. So. I think people should be up in arms, especially in Vince Scully's last season. It's come on. We're going to lose a generation of baseball fans, and that's the last thing baseball can afford. They need young people getting into the game. So anyway, that's all I have for the Dodgers, but I did have another baseball story I wanted to cover. Adam LaRoche, he was the subject of a pretty interesting story in the last couple of weeks. I got this article from ESPN on March 18th, so it's a couple weeks old, but I thought it was so peculiar that I couldn't help but want to discuss it on the show. Adam LaRoche is a veteran player, and he basically released a statement. He was with a member of the White Sox, and he was about to finish his last season this year with the team, and he put a statement out on his Twitter account at the time. It was on a Friday, prior to the 18th of March, and he said that he felt he needed to address the controversy, basically from his discuss the controversy over his sudden retirement and, quote, provide my perspective. So he's providing his perspective. In the statement, he said that before he signed the 2-year, $25 million contract with the White Sox, his first question to the club was about his son's ability to be a part of the team. So basically, Adam LaRoche, I think he kind of like homeschools his kid, and his kid is always in the locker room with his teams. And it's not that his kid isn't well behaved and all those sorts of things. It's just, I mean, do you get to bring whoever you want to your job, listeners? Aaron, do you get to bring whoever you want to your job whenever you feel like it? I guess it rubbed some people the wrong way. But his issue as a player was he asked about this before he signed the contract. And he felt that his kid should be able to be in the locker room every single day. And he thinks that the kid's learning more in the locker room than he does from books and than he does from education, from school, or whatever the case may be. The point being, he decided to retire because it became an issue with, he says it's not the players, it's not the ownership, it's all about Vice President Kenny Williams from the team. And some players were saying they were getting mixed messages from Kenny Williams. And I thought, the reason I wanted to bring it up is just because I thought the whole story was so ridiculous. He signed a 2-year, $25 million deal. So he's setting aside $12.5 million. He's saying no thank you on principle. And if it was something like more legitimate than having to have your son there at your professional baseball league dugout, then I would be a little more like, hey, that's a man of his principles. But I think he's being like ridiculous. I don't care if he negotiated this before he signed the deal. Like, I just feel like there's not necessarily a place for the kid to be in the locker room every single day. How do you feel about kids being in a pro like, these are pro athletes, grown men doing grown men stuff, talking about grown men things, playing in a business where millions and millions of dollars are at stake, and you got like this 14-year-old who wants to be by daddy's side all the time. I kind of think it's like laughable, and I'm not against family. I'm not against like the kid going to a game once a month, but I don't know how this works. Where do you come out on this?
I mean, I think it goes both ways, man. I think Adam grew up. His dad played in the league, so he grew up, in the ball club. Mm-hmm. So he's trying to, translate that with his son now. But it'd be weird, man. I think one of the sports anchors was saying like, "Hey, man, he was telling his coworker like, "Hey, I love your kids, man. But if they were here every day, they'd probably drive us crazy."
Yeah. And that's the thing. And then plus, there's always the issue, like, you might smile to his face because you're his buddy and you like his kid, but just some days you might not want the kid there, and then you go tell the owner, you go tell the vice president, and then there's like that mixed message thing going on where to his face you smile, and then you go tell the owner, I got a problem with it. Clearly, that's what some players must have done, because it wasn't an issue until the off season when he did it all last year, because it's a 2-year deal and he did it, you know what I'm saying? So, like, to me, it's just like when you work with more than one person, 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, 5 people, 20 people on the roster, whatever the case, the more people you get involved, the more ideas, the more opinions, the more problems you're going to have in an interpersonal level. And I think that if every single player wants to bring, like, what if every player wanted to bring their kid? There's so many problems that could arise. I'm not saying that they did, but you leave yourself open to it when you allow something like this to happen. And I understand that he negotiated it ahead of time, so I guess he has the right to say, hey, you take the money, I'll take my pride in my kid, and we'll just ride off into the sunset. But I just think it's funny that he's leaving, he's just ending his pro career. Like, wouldn't you want to finish your last season as a pro? But he doesn't, because his kid can't be with him, and he's choosing family over his career.
Can he come back? Is there a loophole where can he come back? And
I'm sure that, if he's gonna just void his contract, and if somebody else wanted to sign him, he could. But I don't think that's what he's doing. He said that, it was a privilege that he valued, and I think he's just ready to hang him up, man. I think he's just leaving. I don't really know, but I just thought that was such a crazy story to leave $12 million on the table just over that. I don't know, man. So enough of baseball on the basket cases. Let's move to some football coverage real fast here. This is an extremely long episode. It's getting late, and our energy is wearing thin. So we're gonna try to get through this as best we can, folks. Thanks for listening to an extra long episode, and we hope you're enjoying it. Since we were gone for a while, we'll figure out the structure and how much content we're gonna need in the future. But let's move on to the NFL. So a lot of news was going around today circulating that Colin Kaepernick, Niners quarterback, may be interested, and I think they said even agreed like in principle, but that doesn't really mean anything, to be a member of the Denver Broncos and take the rug right out from under Mark Sanchez and become the starting quarterback. Obviously, John Elway would be interested in signing a quarterback with a little more name recognition and a little more flash than Mark Sanchez. And Kaepernick would be a good name to replace him, in my opinion, just because Peyton Manning's leaving. You still got that good defense, and it would be nice to... I mean, Kaepernick, as bad of a season as he had last year, he's probably better than Peyton Manning was when Peyton Manning finished last season. I mean, Peyton Manning couldn't move. And Kaepernick's running ability is next level.
He's athletic.
He is insanely athletic. It's like he runs in slow motion. He's got those long legs that just like a stride is like 6 yards. You know what I mean? It's crazy. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up because it'll be interesting to see if it happens in the coming days. Obviously, Colin still showed up at Niners practice, even though I think he met with the Broncos over the weekend because he stands to make like $400K just by showing up to these workouts. I think I heard. So these preliminary off-season workouts, you get 6 figures. Not bad. I'd go to practice for 6 figures too. Yeah. So there's some new rules in the NFL. 2 personal fouls will now result in an ejection, very similar to
NBA.
Yeah, NBA. And I think this is in light of the Vontaze Burfict plays last year he's on the Bengals, right?
Yeah.
And Odell Beckham Jr. with his crazy missile launching tactics with his helmet
on Josh Norman.
That was insanity. He wasn't even playing football out there, man. He had completely lost it. And I think it's a good rule change. Obviously, the NFL is doing everything they can to try to make the game safer right now, because they're getting a pretty bad rap because of the whole CTE thing. And we have a brief story that we're going to touch on regarding CTE in a moment. But anyway, that's just a rule change update. And another rule change that they had was that a touchback will now result in the ball starting. The line of scrimmage will be on the 25, not the 20-yard line now.
Oh, wow.
So it's interesting because generally nowadays when you watch a kickoff, it's a touchback every time anyway. So I heard a statistic. I forgot the kicker's name, but a kicker was on the Dan Patrick Show, and he said statistically it's only a 1 percentage point difference as to whether or not the offensive team will score based on field position of a 20-yard line versus a 25-yard line starting field position. So it's not that big of a deal as far as whether or not you're going to score. So it's really just a matter of when you kick the ball, where are you going to try to kick it? And if you're going to run it back, will you be able to get all the way to the 25-yard line? And I think the kickoff was the most exciting play in football. And now I'm starting to think they're just doing it so you can watch the ball fly through the air just because it looks like the way it used to look, because nobody runs it back anymore. And you can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. The game is not ever going to be safe. It's football. It's people running full speed into each other.
Yeah. And I mean, that's fun about that part of the game when you kick off. Dante Hall comes to my mind from the Chiefs. I don't know if you remember him, but he used to always run it back, dude. Yeah. It was awesome, though, to see.
Well, there's guys that have made career. I mean, Deion Sanders used to run the ball back. What's his name? The guy playing on Atlanta. More recently, I forget his name. I'm not good with football players' names, but there's guys that's their specialty is running the ball back. Special teams is what they do. Sproles is a good returner. Guys like that could just turn on the afterburners, and they're trying to take those plays away, and I'm sure there's guys that are not happy about it. So anyway, just things to watch out for in the NFL. Obviously, the Shield is still king in America, even though we're the basket cases. So we still touch on football a little bit.
Yep.
The Rams listed their season ticket prices. The LA Rams, so go get them, LA. We're an LA show. We want to let you know what's going on with your Rams. And also, the Rams are going to be on Hard Knocks. That's kind of cool, huh? Do you ever watch Hard Knocks? I don't have that channel.
It's HBO.
HBO. I don't have HBO. But
I think like a couple episodes last year, a couple episodes here and there. I know the Bengals have been on it. The Jets been on it. So
yeah.
It's fun. It's cool. It's kind of like the Lakers backstage.
Yeah. And they're going to basically document the whole transition over to LA, which is cool. That's going to be something they're going to, 20 years from now, they're going to be happy they have that in the archives because it's going to be, the Rams are going to be here to stay. And finally, two more notes. RG3, Robert Griffin went to the Cleveland Browns where quarterbacks go to die. So I don't know what he was thinking. He's going from one dysfunctional organization to another. Redskins had a couple better games towards the end of the year there, but nonetheless, I don't know what he's thinking he's going to do in Cleveland.
I mean, I think the opportunity was presented to him. I think you got to take it, man. No one else.
Money ain't a thing.
Just take the money, man.
Take the money. And talk that talk. He said he's still one of the best quarterbacks.
Did he?
Yeah, he said that. Yeah, he's like, I had
man.
a couple of mishaps with injuries, but I believe I'm one of the best quarterbacks in this league. So we'll see.
All right. Well, he's going to have to get out there and prove it. And Browns fans will let him know how he's doing, I'm sure.
You know who's going to let him know? Perfect, man. Same division as the
He's
Browns.
like, I'm taking my penalties.
Yeah.
And the last story from the NFL was just because we've with the whole move to LA and the Chargers situation and stuff, we've talked about it on previous episodes. The Chargers are going to try to encourage their local representatives, I guess, to enact like an increase in their hotel taxes, and they're going to try to use the profits from that to fund a new stadium. They're trying to come up with any way they can to keep the Chargers in San Diego because I think they know that they're probably going to have to come to LA. But when they do, they will be the Los Angeles Clippers. You know what I mean? They're going to be the second team in town that, just obviously the Clippers still make money, but I think the Chargers just belong in San Diego. They're the San Diego Chargers. It just doesn't feel, it wouldn't feel right calling them the LA Chargers. So that's just their new idea. You can read about it. I read about it a while ago, but I don't want to get too deep into it. But it's just an interesting topic. But in light of the new rule changes and whatnot, we were talking about how they're trying to make the game safer. I saw a CTE story by Kurt Sandoval. He's like a local ABC guy down here. And he basically, the NFL, like 2 weeks ago, they confirmed that there is a link between their game and CTE. And if you don't know what CTE is, we discussed it before. It's basically like brain trauma that happens from repeated, hits to the head. And obviously, NFL is a sport. Football is a sport that will lead to such trauma. And Kurt Sandoval, here's basically the notes of the story. He's quit hitting your headphones on the microphone. It's so late. Sorry, man. So Chris Brymer was a former star athlete at USC and an ex-Dallas Cowboy. Today, he is homeless, Kurt Sandoval writes. He suffers from chronic, traumatic encephalopathy. I hope I said that right. That's CTE, a disease from repetitive brain trauma. The Amen Clinic in Costa Mesa is where he went to have his brain scanned. And they basically told him that he has the brain of an 85-year-old man.
Wow.
And he's 55 years old. So he had 30 years of trauma added to his brain from playing the game. The national average for depression is like 8 to 9% is what a study at the Amen Clinic came up, the conclusion they came up with. And they found that of the players that they tested, 28% of those players suffered from severe depression. So the game is going to, I don't know what's going to happen, but I feel like it's important to document all these little tidbits of information we get as they happen, because someday there's going to be it's going to be like cigarettes or something like that. It's like we all know it's probably not a good idea to put smoke in our lungs, but eventually you're going to realize, oh, that smoke is cancerous and it leads to lung disease and heart failure and blah, blah, blah. I think that football, it's like, well, sure, running into people probably isn't good for your body. Oh, we're getting these little drops of brain trauma. Oh, Junior Seau killed himself. Oh. Where are we going to get? People still smoke. They know it's bad for them, but they still do it. Do you still like football?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. But I still feel like it's important to document this stuff as it happens because it's fascinating. I mean, people are they're putting their lives on the line out there for real.
There was a Kansas City Chiefs player too, right? That killed himself.
Yeah, he's not. Yeah, Junior Seau wasn't the first one. I don't know the player you're referring to, but I'm sure. I mean, I know that Junior Seau is not the only guy who's ever done it.
Yeah.
And it's really amazing. So that's why the NFL is making these rule changes. They're trying to do what they can. Did you see the concussion movie?
I didn't watch it.
I didn't see it either. I wasn't interested, not because of the topic doesn't interest me, but just because I didn't think the movie looked great. But I feel like all these things are going to get us to a point where at least we have an understanding. The contracts might change. I feel like it's definitely going to affect youth football. I mean, some people are football people and they just want their kids to play because of the values the game can teach you from hard work and all that type of stuff. But I mean, if I have kids, I don't really want them to play football. Would you?
No, I don't think so.
I'd say, you're going to play golf, son, and you're going to have a long career, and you're going to make dad lots of money. So anyway, let's move on to our last topic, which is not really a big topic, but just because I'm a big UFC fan and a fight sports fan, and the state of New York has been an interesting source of controversy with the whole DraftKings FanDuel thing, and I just kind of have surmised that they basically just want a cut of the money, and that's the reason. I don't know what they're doing with the whole. I don't really understand why they're so against it, but the other story with the fighting thing now is that I didn't know this, but there's been a ban on MMA fighting in the state of New York since 1997, and the state is now lifting that ban, and I think that they want to get in on some of that cheese because the UFC is blowing up right now with Ronda Rousey losing, and she's going to come back and fight Miesha Tate for the belt, and with Conor McGregor. Yeah, thank you. Conor McGregor just being so outspoken and such a, he's so incendiary, man. People pay attention when he talks. He's such a good trash talker, and they're going to rematch with Nate Diaz. I mean, the UFC I think they got a great brand going right now, and they're only going to get bigger. And I think New York is smart to try to get in on the action now rather than later.
Who wouldn't want to fight at Madison Square Garden,
No, seriously. No doubt about it. I'm spent. I'm done, man. You got anything else you want to get off your chest?
No, man. It was fun.
We covered it all, man. My
Thank
pleasure.
you for having me, man.
We're gonna keep it rolling. We don't know when the next episode will be, but you can listen to this one. It's really long. So thanks for listening to us. We're gonna wrap it up here. We want to remind you to check out our Instagram pages. Maybe we'll post a picture or two. Follow us on Twitter. Send us an email. Give us some feedback. Let us know how you like the new the new host Aaron Tamayo over there. And stay tuned for episode 20. I'll try to update. I'll let you guys know when it's coming out. So until then, remember, you're just a basket case.
Thank you, everybody, for listening, man.
All right, cool. Later. Basket Case is out.